Hello, here we are again, and welcome back. And as I mentioned, we are going to have a series of interviews with many different people. And most of the interviews, I have um, a script, basically, right? So that I can follow and that I can try to guide the conversation in answering certain questions. So I thought that since um, I am the one doing the interviews and I'm the one who had the idea about this, that before I start sharing with you guys what is it that who are these people, what are their answers, um, I thought, why not making it myself? Okay, so I'm gonna try to give you a look of what kind of conversations are we actually engaging in. Of course, that keep in mind that this is a very semi-structured interview. Okay, meaning that with some people it goes a certain way, with other people it goes. Then that's the beauty of these interviews, right? So like they're kind of unique in a way. They all of them have a specific storytelling. Yeah. So here we are. There we go. Let's start. So basically, what do I think masculinity is? And wow, what a kind of like a triggered question, don't you think? I don't know. I think if I think about it, I would say that, of course, that my answer now is going to be very informed with with my own experience, obviously, with working with men, but also from these interviews, right? The ones that I already had. But I've been having a lot of thought about this, and well, masculinity is mostly behavior, right? It's mostly very much related with what a certain kind or type of behavior, right? Meaning, for example, a man behaving in a manly way, right? Being masculine. When a woman expects a man to behave a certain way, maybe that's what's related with this script of what society wants or expects it to be, right? So masculinity has a little bit of that. If you but what is masculinity for me? So let's go now. So for me, masculinity is a certain kind or type of behavior, definitely, and most of the times associated with a social norm, right? So what does a certain society expect from it? And I would risk to say that it's across most of the societies, okay? Very much related with, of course, something that impacts and has a huge influence on social norms, that is religion, okay? Let's move a little bit. We're going back here. We're going to go circle back here, but let's move into what is then toxic masculinity. How can we distinguish these two? How can we distinguish masculinity from toxic masculinity? And this is a very, again, this is a very, again, this is related with the behavior and social norms, okay? But when I think about toxic masculinity, I'm thinking mostly about the bullying version, the bullying of this, the bullying of the society, of the niches of people towards the concepts of masculinity and the non-conform individuals with those masculinity norms, right? So I would say, and this has a huge impact. Okay, let me go here first, because this has a huge impact. It has a huge impact because men grow wanting to perform in that certain norms of masculinity, and end up being influenced and being in a very toxic way about those norms, because the intersection of the toxicity of norms of social norms happen across any type of norms, right? Because, for example, you are the patriarch of a family, of a big family, right? Social norms tells you or indicate that you have to perform or behave in a certain way with the rest of the family. What if you don't want to do those things? What if you don't have it in you? What if actually what you want to do is hear from people and hear from someone else what you should do, right? It goes against your nature, but you have to perform. You have to be that patriarch of that family. And in order to be that patriarch of the family, you have to do A, B, C, D, F. Right? So let's say that the masculinity norms, the social norms, the masculinity expectations would be, in this case, in the case of being a patriarch, would be to make A, B, C, and D. These are the norms. When you go against it, when you don't identify with it, when you don't want to do it, when you just don't want to do it, then it becomes toxic, because it's forcing you to do something that it's not in your nature. And so the bullying starts, right? And so you start to feel cornered. You start to feel that you are not enough. You start to feel that you have to overcompensate with different things. And then you start behaving in a toxic way. Does that make sense? So in masculinity and toxic masculinity, this is exactly the same. Look at, for example, the behavior kids have in school. You have, the cool kids, and they're super cool, and they bully the fat one or the fag one, or whatever ones that don't fit, and they even bully themselves. But that's another level of toxic masculinity, bullying, so that the group stays cohesive with the behavior. So we're going to bully them, and we're going to make sure that we all perform the same way. This is toxic as well. And so if you don't fit in it, and if you're not part of this norm, then you're going to be bullied, and you're going to be a target of toxic masculinity. And one of the things that I've realized with the experience that I've been having working with men is that there's this notion, and this is very, very interesting. There's this notion that toxic masculinity, it's mostly, who suffers from toxic masculinity is mostly the gay community, for example, right? Or the more non-normal. The ones that don't. I can't remember now the term, but the ones that don't perform with the norm, right? They are the ones who suffer the most. But what's funny enough, what I've been realizing in the therapies, in the group therapies, is that it also happens to heterosexual men. It also happens to men who are part of the cool gang. It's a different level, but they are also constantly, in their minds, in their conscience, afraid of not being part of the norm, not performing to the norm, not following what is the script to be a masculine guy and behave in a certain way. The stress is there, the anxiety is there, the pressure is there. And even the ones that are the leaders, they overcompensate in so many different ways, being, again, victims also of this toxic masculinity. It's really, really interesting. Okay, I always do this, I deviate a little bit, but okay, first question, what is masculinity and what is toxic masculinity? And then, in a more personal touch, I try to go and understand if people have ever been victim of toxic masculinity. And if yes, where? Well, I have been victim of toxic masculinity. I am kind of like always a victim of toxic masculinity. I've been, I think, for sure, during my period in school, mostly, yeah. Mostly, I would say the ninth grade, 8th grade was the toughest one for me. And it was very interesting because when I was in the school in that year, there's a special context here, right? So basically, I grew up in this neighborhood where we would have different social levels of people, of communities, and I was in a school with people with in a very social level, in very low social levels, and I had a grandma that spoiled me a lot and loved me unconditionally, but that's a topic for a different conversation. But it has a huge influence on this. Yeah, it actually had a huge influence on everything in my life. And but meaning that, you know, I was the kid with the cool clothes, the good brands, and I liked that in a way that I felt different, right? I was the cute kid, and I was very. I have this thing of me that everywhere I would go, you know, it sounds a little bit arrogant, but please don't take it that way. But people notice me. You know what I mean? I have this. I don't know if it's the attitude, if it's the way I walk, if it's the confidence. I don't know. It's just what it is. So basically, I felt that at school, and so I had a fan club. Yeah. So I had these girls that every day they would wait for me at the door of the door of the school, and they would throw me notes of love, and you know, every day I had this boost of like confidence, and they were super sweet. And but on the other hand, the cool kids, the cool guys, you know, they were bullying me all the time. Because, you know, at the time I would say, like, they're just jealous. These guys are just jealous. But they were a little bit aggressive, violent. They would call me, they would try to offend me by calling me a faggot, by telling, you know. I didn't play football. Very big thing in Portugal. If you guys don't know, I don't know how is it in your countries. Like, think about it. I hated football. I didn't play football. My neighbors from 2 floors up in my building, you know, they play football. They play with these kids, you know, almost every day on the street. I didn't like it. I didn't like football. You know, anything else I would play. But no, I was trapped in that. Again, it's a toxic masculinity concept, or do you understand? Like, men play football in Portugal, and if you don't play football, you're not a man, or man enough, right? So yeah, I suffered from it, and I think it was mostly when I was in that period of my education and school. Um, then I go ahead and ask about family, right? So, what kind of environment, what kind of environment did I have? In in what concerns these patterns, the patterns of masculinity, right? So I grew up in a very special environment. When I was born, both my grandparents had died, so I only had grandmothers. And so actually the only masculine figure I had was my dad. Um, but even that, I come to realize today, it was a very special. Um, he was very blur. He was very. My dad was never a person that imposed. You know, he even his opinion. He was never. My mom was the opinionated. My mom was the one. We have this picture that I realized a few years ago that it's very important for this topic. I have this picture, and I remember this picture since I'm a kid. I only rationalize about it now. So basically, my dad is sitting on a chair, and my mom is standing with her right hand in his shoulder, in his left shoulder, and she's dressing a full suit with a tie, a white shirt, and a black jacket and black trousers. So both very well educated, both with degrees, secure jobs. But my father was never really. I think if I would have to talk about masculinity patterns, I think my father would be. He tried to be the one who took the decisions or who made the last call, the last decision. That went completely wrong because you could definitely see that if my mom didn't want it, or if he wanted something and my mom, my mom was really like, we could feel it. We could feel it when my mom didn't want it, So, well, this to tell you that who were the pants, and this is again an expression, a very toxic masculinity expression. We need to be careful about this and promise me that one of the things that you will do is to be a little bit more conscious about these expressions because we have so many of them. The human who wore the pants, the trousers at home was my mom. This is, I guess, well, I think you understand why is it so wrong at so many levels. But so yeah, so I think I didn't really have a masculinity role. I had it from, my friends maybe, but my friends never really influenced me much, to be honest. I think it was mostly for what I would see on the TV, for what I would see on the movies. I think my models of masculinity came from there. I think so. Or I would say so. Some probably came from those basic things that we have that your father should teach you, like how to do your shave your face, right, or shave your hair, your facial hair. I learned it by myself. Learn to drive. In Portugal, it's a big thing as well. Learn to drive. Father teaches the son how to drive. I learned it alone by myself. You know, sex conversations, healthy sexual conversations, zero from my mom or from my dad. It was like a taboo topic, never a non-existent topic. But I think it's sad because it would have been so much easier if I would have known some things from them. But it's the times that we lived in. They didn't know better. No hard feelings on that. And so yeah, I think that would be, my dad would get aggressive. He would beat, especially my sister. And that's it, actually. Like he would, my mom would sometimes would say like, okay, you have to ask your dad if he allows you, but we knew that she didn't want to do that. She would want to decide herself, but because of the, some sort of agreement they might have, or they had, or an unspoken agreement they had, we would go to him. He would always say no, I'm not sure if that falls into the concept of masculinity, to be honest. I think it mostly falls into the concept of a really weird relationship dynamic, to be honest. Anyway, another question that I normally make is, after talking about your models in your life when you grew up, your dad, maybe your grandparents, we also go into what other figures existed in your life as models of masculinity. And here it's a very interesting thing. Like, if I think about role models that were men, not so sure about all this thing of masculinity, but it was important for me to understand that certain behaviors could also come from men. Do you understand what I mean? So men role models are important also because of this. Because it's sort of like diversify, and this is a very important thing, because I would say that I had a couple of role models, from men role models, friends of my parents. One of them, he was sweet, kind, sensitive. This is what I remember from him. He's long past, but he was the friend of a friend. He would help, provide, he was funny, and he was a role model for me. It's very interesting. He was a role model for me. And also because I could see the influence he had in my dad. He was a good friend of my dad. The good influence, the good impact he had on my dad. So I like that. I took that from him. And then the other one was just this very, very, very smart, ambitious, persistent, capable man that I still today I admire immensely. And he also did something for me. Gave me a certain, we would have. I remember I was young, and we would have super incredible conversations together, and he would talk to me at the same intelligence level that he was. Of course, that he was much more intelligent than I was at the time. I mean, in terms of quantity of knowledge, but I never felt that inferior, and that's a very like that. Let's put it like that. The equal, when you feel egalitarian behavior, it's very beautiful. And I think those two are definitely one of the biggest roles I had outside. I didn't have any roles in school, role models in school. No, maybe I had a history teacher. I liked him very much for some reason, but again, I think it was because of the kindness and the knowledge he had. I was always very attracted to knowledge, to people who are smart in their heads. Okay. What else? Another question I do is, in your professional area, what kind of stereotypes there are of masculinity? Um, well, I've been working across industries, and I guess, especially in management. I think, especially in management, we will have a lot. I have, for example, I'm reading an article right now about management and leadership, and it's very interesting. These things of masculinity, but it's like, it's what we know, right? So the man is the patriarch, the man is the leader, the man is the one who people respect, who people don't approach in sexual or opportunistic ways. Well, don't approach less. And also, when they approach, it's become normal. It's because normally the man wants that, right? With women, it's much harder. Also, women are not supposed to be so educated or so smart. Again, this is not what I believe. It's what I felt when I was working in the management industry. And then it also depends on the culture where you are, right? So some cultures are much more evolved than others. When I was living in Denmark, it was the complete opposite, right? So they were already in the completely different spectrum of men are actually the ones that are not smart, are not capable. Women they had a wave of feminism and upbringing of women much earlier than any of the other societies, I guess. And so, but dangerally, instead of following into an equalitarian level, I think they overdid it a bit. I guess also because they had to do it socially in order, or at least until they wait that the other countries leveled it up as well, and then they can, I think, tear it down a little bit. I don't know. We'll see what happens in the future. I've worked in future studies, but I'm not a futurologist. These are just like very plain, simple. Oh, the door knocked. The very plain, simple ideas, and that need more investigation and scientific background. But yeah, in the professional area, I would say mostly that. There's an overall feeling in any profession, I think, that men are more, they sustain frustration and do you know what I mean? Like, they sustain frustration better than women. That they are colder, and that's apparently a very good thing. We are questioning all those things now, and very good that we are. But yes, I experiment in my professional area all of those. Have those concepts of masculinity force my decisions in anything? Was there anything I didn't do because of that? The answer to this question, for me, it's a little bit more complex than a simple answer. Because only recently I've been questioning this gender roles and norms, right? During my childhood and during the period that I was living in as a child or growing up and building up my personality and all those things, experiencing my own ideas and wheels, sexual attraction was the only topic on the table, right? This thing of the gender was not up on discussion, or at least not as much as it is today. Not in such an awareness place that it is today, right? Like nowadays, kids, they don't really care about with whom to whom they are attracted sexually. Their focus is really on gender, and it makes sense, right? For me, it makes sense. It's a social evolution, but I would say what I would believe it's a social evolution. But now that I think about it, maybe I did. Maybe there are things that I didn't do because people wouldn't think that I would be man enough, or that I would be, maybe. And also, there are things that I did in order to perform to be man enough, to be masculine enough. Behavior I had with women, for example, when I was behavior that I had with women, actually. Some of the things that I did with them, that was very masculine of me, performing masculine norms of me. You know what I mean? Not meaning that I was always very attracted to them. I was always very much in love with them, with a lot of them, with not a lot, with some of them that I but meaning that it was real, nothing of that was a lie or not true. But I can remember, like, for example, the flirting would be aggressive, and it would be like, very, it would not be me. It would not be me. I'm not like that. These little things, I mean. Probably also behaving with friends, with men, right? Men friends, like things we would say to each other, things we would do with each other, the aggressiveness, the physical aggressiveness, and the verbal and emotional aggressiveness, for sure. Nowadays that I think about it, like, would I have liked to wear a skirt? Why not? Maybe I would. Now I don't think about it. I have shorts and I have trousers, or I have nothing. I also like that. But why not a skirt? Why not? Is it because it's for women only? What about the Scottish people, right? They wear it since centuries, even without underwear. I heard. Why is that okay for them? Why is it masculine for them to wear skirts? It's triggering. It's a little bit like mind questioning, right? So I think so. I think I didn't. To answer this question honestly, yes, I was influenced by these concepts, by these norms. I would maybe try different things. I would probably be more free, or I don't know. I think I would be that, and I hope I can catch up on those limitations from now on, being a little bit more aware of it, honestly. Okay, and 2 last questions. The name of this podcast is Mine Space is Big Enough, right? So the question that I ask is, what people think that men have big enough? And my answer is love, heart, willingness to understand and to belong to this place of compassion and love. I really believe and hope this. Every day I hope for this. And so, last question is, what do you think you have big enough? Well, I think big enough my level of curiosity. Definitely. A level of curiosity. Because it's so high that makes me jump to places, to things, to ideas, to that it's actually the curiosity that makes, well, together with love, obviously, but it's curiosity. Very curious guy. That's it. I hope you had a good time. This is the interview. Okay, this is basically the interview that I've been doing with whoever volunteers to do it. I hope, as you can see, it's a conversation. It changes from person to person. Then we can go, explore different things. It's a much more personal thing as well. And you're very welcome to come. You're very welcome to join. You're very welcome to, if you want to participate, if you want to talk about it, express and give us your perspective of it. Very welcome to do that. It's very easy. We do a Zoom call. Boom. 30 minutes more or less, and we're done. I don't even know how long is this already. Let's see. 36 minutes. I promised that I would try to make this around 20 minutes. I'm gonna shut up. Thank you for being there. It's a pleasure, and talk to you soon. Ciao.